The movie begins in a hospital where young Peter Quill is listening to music in the waiting room. His grandfather arrives to take him to his mother's room, where she is losing her battle with cancer. She gives Peter a box, instructing him to open it after she's gone. Weak, he reaches out for his hand, but Peter cannot bring himself to hold it and watches as she dies. Overwhelmed with grief, Peter runs out of the hospital and collapses in the street, where he is suddenly abducted by an alien ship. 26 years later, on the abandoned planet Morag, Peter, now an adult, explores ruins while listening to his Walkman and dancing. He eventually finds the magic orb he seeks, but is soon confronted by soldiers from another ship. They demand to know how he knew about the orb and what he is doing there. Peter claims to be a garbage collector who accidentally fell to the planet, but the soldiers don't believe him and decide to take him to their leader, Ronan. Realizing he won't get away easily, Peter introduces himself as the legendary Star-Lord, a famous marauder, but the soldiers are unimpressed. Peter fights back, defeating the two minions and injuring the guard, who nearly lands a fatal shot on him. Peter uses thrusters to escape, heading towards his ship while dodging enemy fire. He throws a gravity bomb to immobilize the guards, allowing him to jump onto his ship and slide into the cockpit. The bomb deactivates, freeing the soldiers, who then set up a minigun to shoot at him. Peter narrowly dodges their fire, but his ship is hit by a thermal jet, sending it hurtling upwards. He regains control just before crashing, escaping Morag safely. Once in space, Peter receives a call from Yondu, the leader of the group that abducted him as a child. Yondu, angry that the orb is missing, demands Peter's location and the item's return. When Peter refuses and ends the call, Yondu places a bounty of 40,000 units for Peter's capture, alive. A few light years away on the Dark Aster, a Kree warship, Ronan receives a report from his men about the events on Morag. They inform him that Star-Lord plans to deliver the orb to a middleman known as the Broker. Ronan orders Nebula to go to Xandar to retrieve the orb, but Gamora, familiar with the planet, offers to go instead. Ronan agrees, and Gamora is tasked with bringing the orb to her father, Thanos. On Xandar, bounty hunters Rocket and Groot are looking for their next target when they spot Peter chatting with an alien. Interested in the 40,000 unit bounty on him, they follow him as he heads to the Broker. Peter tries to sell the orb, but when he mentions Ronan's name, the Broker, fearing the Kree, refuses to deal and kicks Peter out. Outside, Peter meets Gamora and tries to impress her, unaware she intends to steal the orb. She swiftly takes the orb and incapacitates Peter. Peter manages to ensnare Gamora with an optical wire, but she breaks free and the two engage in a fight. As Gamora gains the upper hand, Rocket and Groot intervene, capturing Peter and trying to tie up Gamora. Amid the chaos, Gamora bites Rocket and retrieves the orb, but Peter fights back using a thruster to destabilize her. As he believes he has won, Groot captures him, but Gamora attacks again, freeing herself. The commotion draws the attention of the Nova Corps, who arrest all four for disturbing the peace and take them to the Kiln, a high-security prison. In the prison, Rocket brags about his escape skills, while Gamora reveals she plans to sell the orb to a buyer. As they discuss their situation, other prisoners threaten Gamora for her association with Ronan and Thanos. Drax the Destroyer, seeking revenge on Ronan, almost kills her, but Peter convinces him to keep her alive, arguing that she can help them get to Ronan. Ronan receives his summons to Thanos' sanctuary, where he reports Gamora's betrayal. Angered by the lack of loyalty, Ronan kills Thanos' emissary and confronts Thanos. Thanos belittles Ronan, warning him to deliver the orb or face dire consequences. Back at the Kiln, Rocket devises an escape plan, asking Gamora to steal a guard's access bracelet and retrieve a crucial battery. Groot misunderstands and sets off the alarm, causing chaos. Despite the alarm, Groot's wooden body withstands the attack and he dismantles the drones, ending the rebellion. The guards arm themselves with their most powerful weapons and advance towards the cafeteria, but at the last moment, Drax decides to join the escape plan. He knocks out the guards, retrieves a weapon, and hands it to Rocket. With their cover blown, Gamora rushes to a guard, demanding his access bracelet. When he refuses, she breaks his arm and takes it by force. Together, the five storm the control cabin, disabling the artificial gravity and taking control of the drones. Rocket uses the drones as makeshift thrusters to lift them out of Kiln, but they crash near the exit and run to Peter's ship. In the prisoner's belongings room, they retrieve the orb and their gear, but Peter notices his Walkman is missing. While the others proceed, he goes back, eliminating guards along the way to retrieve his cherished Walkman. Once reunited, they fly towards the Collector's bar. Inside, Rocket and Drax start a brawl, prompting Peter to intervene. They are called to meet the Collector, where Rocket and Drax's tension continues until Peter reminds them of the fortune awaiting them from selling the orb. Meanwhile, the Collector's servant negotiates with Gamora but leaves Drax behind. Drax broadcasts their location to lure Ronan, seeking revenge for his family. Unbeknownst to them, they've been betrayed. Meeting the Collector, they learn about the Infinity Stones, ancient gems of immense power created from the universe's birth. The orb contains the Power Stone, one of these stones. As they discuss payment, the servant touches the Power Stone out of curiosity, causing a catastrophic explosion that obliterates the Collector's place and disintegrates her body, scattering cosmic fragments everywhere. After the explosion, Gamora replaces the jewel into the orb and proposes delivering it to the Nova Corps. However, their departure is interrupted when Ronan arrives at nowhere with his Kree army. Drax challenges Ronan but is quickly overpowered. Gamora and the others escape in industrial ships while Rocket improvises by hurling the unarmed vehicles at the Kree. Meanwhile, Peter takes control of the Necro ship, using it against Ronan's forces. Nebula pursues them, leading to a confrontation where she damages Gamora's ship, forcing her to jettison the orb. At the Collector's bar, Drax is incapacitated and Nebula claims the orb for Ronan. Groot rescues Drax, prompting Rocket to blame Drax for their predicament and urge an escape before Ronan's destructive plans unfold. Ronan discovers the power of the orb and betrays Thanos, vowing to destroy Xander. Yondu captures Peter, but Peter convinces him to spare his life by offering knowledge of Ronan's operations. The Guardians and the Marauders team up to thwart Ronan's plan to devastate Xander using the orb's destructive power, devising a strategy to infiltrate Ronan's ship and prevent the cataclysmic impact. After planning to shut down the vehicle's power and using Rocket's Horn Executor to eliminate Ronan and retrieve the Infinity Jewel, Gamora faces a critical issue. Ordinary individuals can't survive touching the Singularity. She distributes containment orbs to safely store the jewel. Despite attempts to warn Noah officers about Ronan's impending attack, they receive no response, forcing the Guardians and the Marauders to launch their assault alone. Under Yondu's leadership, they breach the spaceship's hull with energy spheres, disrupting Nebula's view and initiating their attack from below. Rocket leads a team that breaches the hull, allowing Yondu and Quill to infiltrate. Ronan responds by deploying thousands of Necro ships to counterattack, leading to a fierce battle. Eventually, the Nova Corps join the fray, shooting down Ronan's minions and enabling the Guardians to penetrate deeper into the cruiser. Meanwhile, Gamora attempts to shut down the power source, only to be confronted by Nebula. The two engage in a fierce duel with futuristic swords, while the rest of the team confronts Ronan's forces, aided by Drax's immense strength and Star-Lord's advanced weaponry. As the battle intensifies, Groot uses his abilities to decimate Ronan's troops, tossing them around effortlessly. Ronan, growing impatient, uses the power jewel to shatter the force field, devastating the Nova Corps fleet. In a daring move to protect her friends, Gamora absorbs Nebula's electric attack, disarms her, and sends her flying out of the ship. With Gamora disabling the Dark Aster's power, the team prepares to confront Ronan. Despite their best efforts, Ronan withstands Rocket's attacks and retaliates with a devastating blast from the power jewel. Drax, enraged by Ronan's taunts about his family, charges forward but is intercepted. Rocket sacrifices his ship, causing a massive explosion that damages the Dark Aster, which begins to descend. To shield their friends from the impact, Groot envelops them in a protective sphere of branches, sacrificing himself to absorb the brunt of the damage. After the impact, the local population rushes to aid the Guardians amidst the wreckage. However, Ronan emerges unscathed and prepares to unleash destruction upon the planet. As he begins his final speech, Quill interrupts with another one of his absurd dances, distracting Ronan. Rocket quickly reassembles his Hadron Executor, and Drax wields it to shatter the hammer, exposing the Infinity Jewel. Taking a desperate gamble, Star-Lord seizes the Singularity with his bare hands, risking his own life as his body begins to disintegrate. To prevent his demise, Gamora, Drax, and Rocket join him, sharing the burden of the Singularity's power. Together, they manage to stabilize the situation. With the Infinity Jewel under control, they unleash its full power, directing an energy beam that obliterates Ronan instantly. Following their victory, Gamora secures the jewel in one of the containment orbs. Yondu arrives, seeking the orb, but Quill hands him one of the other capsules distributed by Gamora, containing only a simple, unremarkable doll, suspecting Yondu's intentions to sell the jewel to a more dangerous entity than Ronan. With the situation calmed, Nova Prime escorts them to headquarters, where she reveals improvements made to Peter's ship and announces their criminal records erased. The Guardians then plant a sapling using Groot's branches before departing Xander, leaving the Infinity Jewel in the safekeeping of the Nova Corps, temporarily safe, at least until the looming threat of Thanos, the Mad Titan. Make sure to subscribe and turn on the bell icon for more.